Good morning. It is a cloudy and cold day here in North Carolina. And today we're going to talk about strategies for birding new areas. Last week's video, we talked about how to find new areas to bird. Today we're going to talk about strategies that you can use when striking out into a new area to bird. So come along and enjoy this adventure. Well, my first instinct whenever I go someplace new is basically get on a hiking trail, walk along a road, just go there. And this is by far the least effective way that you can explore a new area. For the simple fact that I think you miss things. I am like that. This is basically my attitude is I'm going to go there, get feet on the ground and figure out what's going on there. And the simple fact is that this is not an effective way to explore a new area. Now, if you're just going to go somewhere and do this, I would rather you do that than do nothing, but that's slightly better. Just showing up is slightly better than doing nothing. Well, the first thing I did when I decided I was going to come out here is I got on Google Earth and I looked at or Google Maps, and I looked at this area here in a terrestrial view. So it shows you the contours of the land. Now, I don't think I would have ever found this area if it wasn't for that. The trail kind of comes over here and goes up here, which is a really nice hiking trail here. But I would have never found this because when I looked on the map, it shows me that this contour, there's like a ravine that comes through here, and then it opens up into this giant swampy area here. This is perfect habitat for woodpeckers, for titmice, nuthatches, for chickadees. This will be also perfect habitat for white-tailed deer, for coyotes, for foxes. All kinds of animals will live in here. I really do believe this little brook here, if it has water all year long, I think you can find Louisiana water thrushes here. So I really do believe that this is a really good area to bird. And one of the reasons I found it is because I used Google Maps and it showed me the contours of these areas here. So what I'm going to do is kind of like keep along this brook and explore a little bit further. It should open up into a wetland. But using Google Maps really gave me an idea of what I would see. So on Google Maps you'll see roads, you'll see trails, you'll see wetlands, brooks, ponds, all kinds of stuff. And you have to think about this when you go in there. So if you see that there's a cackling goose seen here at a location that you want to go to, well, obviously that cackling goose is not going to be in this area here. It's going to be on a pond somewhere. So using Google Maps really gives you an idea of what kind of wildlife you will see there and what kind of habitat you'll run into. And if it's really, sometimes there's a few areas I've looked at and it's like you look at it and it's going up and down a mountain. Oh, I don't want to climb a mountain, but it gives you a really good idea of what you'll run into and what you can find there that's not on the trail. So the first thing I always do before I go someplace new is go to Google Maps. Well, the second step of exploring a new area will be actually showing up here. So what I will do is I will pick 3 or 4 spots that I want to check out while I'm here. And I will spend a few hours checking out these areas here. And I try to have some idea of what the habitat is. So this area is mostly hardwood forest, and I think that this area here will probably be the most productive area for seeing birds and other animals like that. And as I'm walking through here, I'm keeping a really good eye as to what's around here, because you may see something that's just like, holy cow. But the first thing I do is when I show up here is I get some idea of how the place is laid out. When I figure out where to park, how's the parking here, start walking the trails, figure out what's going on here. And then what I do is I have 3 or 4 spots that I check out. And as I said, I'm going to kind of keep along this wetland area here. I've been seeing a lot of blue herons kind of flying over this way here, so I believe there's a rookery over here. I've actually heard some calling over there. I don't know if you can hear behind me, but there's a lot of woodpecker activity. So this is like one of those really good areas. I really like wetlands as a really good area to bird because there's a lot of insects here. In this area here, I bet you I could find yellow-billed cuckoos here. I might find some Louisiana water thrushes. I'm feeling a little hesitant about that because I don't know if that brook actually stays wet all year long. And this wetland here does not stay wet all year long. It seems to dry out because I'm seeing a lot of trees here that are growing and alive here. So that indicates to me that this is a temporary wetlands, but still, this is a really good habitat to be looking for birds. And having an area like this here, walking along here, being able to take pictures really gives you an idea. But when you're out here exploring, try to be very conscientious of your presence in the woods. I mean, we don't want to be jumping deer and we don't want to be scaring wildlife while we're out here. And another thing that I'm trying to be very conscious of is private property. So I know that there's a piece of private property over here, and actually as I walk along this swampy area here, the private property line comes across where I would be walking, and I have to kind of go back up on the trail to get around that private property. So like I said, find a few spots that you want to check out. I like to look for these lower areas here, these wetter areas. I've always found these very productive areas to look for these animals here. But I mean, you know, these upper woodlands are definitely areas that produce some kind of birds or some kind of wildlife. So think about these areas, think about as you're walking through here, and you'd be surprised as to what you can do. And something that you should really have is a realistic outlook of how much of this area you can explore. I have a feeling that, you know, this area here is about 400 acres, and that's way too much land to explore all at once. So what I've actually done is I have a few areas that I want to check out. There's a wetland here, and on the other side of the property is another wetland. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explore this area here until I get to the private property, and then I'm just going to get in a trail and just walk around the trail and see how that looks there. So that's basically how I'm exploring. I mean, it'd be very hard to explore this whole area at one time, but I really do believe that this area right here is going to be a really good, productive area. Well, the last thing I would suggest to you is to go and talk to somebody. Usually whenever you have some land conservation area, there's usually some group that's associated with Friends of, or the association, or somebody. And usually you can find an email address, or you can go on Facebook and find them, you know, social media, you'll be able to find them and contact these people. Those people are a giant well of information. And usually, and now with COVID we don't, but usually these organizations try to have some kind of bird walks so that you can go out. So if you're new to birding, this is a great way for you to learn different species of birds. The other thing too is that you will contact other people that like to enjoy photography. One thing that I love, if you've watched the channel, you know I love talking about photography. And if you're ever on a bird walk and you see me and you have a question, don't be afraid to ask me, because I will be glad to talk your ear off about photography and bird photography. So I strongly encourage you to talk to people. Find out who you can. If you're just walking through the woods and there's somebody walking through the woods, even if they're not a birder, you'll be surprised what information you can get from them. So I'm hoping you enjoyed this video. If you got anything out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel because that helps us in the YouTube world. Follow me on social media. I post a picture almost every day. Become a Patreon supporter. Your support allows us to keep doing this. My name is Leahy, and I want to thank you for watching.